Deep in the Karoo Desert, hidden inside a circle of sharp thorns, lives a herd of zebras. This thorny oasis is their entire world. Inside, it sits the only lake for miles, and the zebras guard it with their lives. Nobody gets in, and nobody gets out. This is the only life they have ever known. One ordinary day, everything changes. A zebra named SEO rushes to his wife Lungisa as she is about to give birth. The baby arrives and the entire herd crowds around to welcome the newest member. For one brief moment, everything feels warm and full of hope. Then they see it. Only half of the baby's body has stripes. The other half is completely bare. The silence that follows is uncomfortable and heavy. Then the whispers start. Then the laughter. The entire herd reacts with horror, as if something has gone terribly wrong. Everyone pulls back except SEO and Lungisa, who look at their son and see nothing but perfection. They name him Kumba and love him completely from his very first breath. But the world around Kumba is not kind. From the day he is born, the rain clouds disappear, and the lake begins shrinking day by day. The herd panics quietly, but nobody says out loud what everyone is already thinking. They all look at the half-striped zebra and wonder if he is the reason the rain stopped. Growing up is painful. The other young zebras mock Kumba constantly, exclude him from everything, and make sure he always feels like an outsider. But in the middle of all that cruelty, there is one bright spot. A girl named Tomi who sees Kumba differently from everyone else. Where others see a mistake, she sees something rare and special. She becomes his only true friend, and the one person who makes life inside the oasis bearable. But even that friendship comes with problems. Tomi's older sister Thema cannot stand Kumba and goes out of her way to make his life difficult at every opportunity. When SEO watches his son being humiliated, his instinct is to step in, but Lungisa, already growing weak from illness, holds her husband back. She tells him firmly that Kumba needs to learn to face the world himself. One quiet afternoon, while walking alone, Kumba comes across a praying mantis, sitting completely still in the sand. The tiny creature stares at him for a long moment, and then begins drawing something with one of its thin legs. A map, lines and shapes that feel somehow important, but make no sense yet. Before he can study it properly, Tomi shows up to check on her friend. Kumba is in a dark place. He has convinced himself that the drought is entirely his fault, that his strange coat somehow caused the rain to stop and the lake to dry up. He tells Tomi he deserves to be excluded. Tomi pushes back hard and tells him that is completely ridiculous. One zebra cannot cause a drought, but Kumba is too deep in his own guilt to hear her. Feeling lost, he drifts toward the edge of the fence and finds a small group of antelopes on the other side looking desperate. Their elder is sick and dying of thirst. Something stirs inside Kumba. Without thinking about the consequences, he opens a gap in the fence and lets them through. And in that single act of kindness, he catches his first glimpse of what lies beyond the thorns. A wide open world, stretching in every direction. Vast and unknown and full of possibility. For a zebra who has spent his entire life inside a fence, it feels like discovering another planet. But the moment does not last. The herd spots the strangers and forms a defensive wall to block them from the lake. The antelopes leave. As they pass back through the fence, a hungry leopard appears and attacks. The predator smells Kumba and moves directly toward him. Kumba acts fast and pulls the fence branch closed with his father's help, barely keeping the leopard out. The leopard's name is Pango, and he is not the kind of creature who forgets. He sends a cold and simple warning to the leader of his pack. The lake is drying up. Soon, the zebras will be forced to leave looking for food and water. When that day comes, Pango will be right there waiting. After the scare, Kumba sits with his mother and brings her food because she has not been well for some time. Lungisa sees the pain on her son's face and decides it is time to tell him something important. The legend of where zebra stripes come from. Long ago, the first zebras on Earth had completely white skin with no stripes at all. One day, a young zebra left his herd and traveled alone across the vast Karoo Desert. At the foot of a great mountain, he found a magical lake unlike anything that had ever existed. He stepped in, and when he came back out, his white coat was covered in beautiful, bold stripes. He was extraordinary and different and deeply proud of it. But when the rest of the herd saw his stripes, they all ran to the lake and jumped in together. Not to be extraordinary, because they all wanted to look exactly the same as each other. Lungisa tells this story to show her son that being different is a gift, not a curse. But Kumba hears it completely differently. He looks at the map the mantis drew. He stares at it for a long time, and slowly, it hits him. The mantis was pointing him toward the magical lake. If he finds it and swims in it, he will finally get his stripes. And maybe the rain will come back too. He decides right then and there to go. Hours later, when he returns to his mother, he finds the entire herd gathered around her in total silence. Lungisa is gone. The grief hits him like a physical blow. He watches his father standing completely still and broken. He sees the sadness spread across every face around him. And instead of letting it destroy him, the pain becomes fuel. He is going to cross the desert. He is going to find the lake. He is going to bring the rain back. He is doing this for his mother, for his father, for all of them. That night, Kumba slips through the fence and steps into the open desert for the very first time in his life. He does not get far before trouble finds him. An African wild dog named Skull appears from the shadows and offers to guide him to the magical lake. Skull has a slick confidence about him that should feel suspicious, but Kumba is alone and lost, so he follows. Soon they come across two other creatures, a massive wildebeest named Mom V, who carries herself with quiet strength, and a nervous ostrich named Bradley who startles at every sound. Before any proper introduction can happen, a whole pack of wild dogs surrounds Kumba. The plan becomes obvious immediately. Skull was never going to help him. He wanted to use Kumba as a bargaining chip to get water from the zebra herd, but Mom V does not wait to be asked. She steps in front of Kumba and takes on every single wild dog by herself. Her size and raw power sends them all running. She then makes sure Skull understands that his betrayal has consequences. When Kumba explains he is searching for a magical lake, Mam V makes a quiet decision without any drama. She is coming with him. Bradley, not wanting to be left alone in the dark, announces he is coming too. The three set off together, following the clues in the praying mantis map. Back in the oasis, Tomi finds the map in the sand and immediately understands what has happened. She wants to run after Kumba right that second, but SEO stops her and asks her to stay with the herd while he goes to find his son. It is one of the hardest things Tomi has ever agreed to. At dawn, Skull tries to save himself by telling Pango about the young zebra crossing the desert and pointing him in the direction Kumba went. Pango says nothing. He simply turns and starts following the trail. During the journey, Bradley's nerves get the better of him. He tells Kumba about Pango. He says the leopard has abilities beyond any normal predator. Kumba listens carefully and keeps moving. That night, the cold settles over the desert and the three travelers stop to rest. Bradley tells his story. He lived on a farm surrounded by fences and routine, and the same faces every single day until he could not take it anymore. He walked away one morning and never looked back. Mam V listens in silence. When it is her turn, she shakes her head. Her past stays buried. Meanwhile, SEO follows his son's trail and arrives at the spot where Pango picked it up. He sees the leopard's massive prints layered directly over his son's hoof prints and draws the only conclusion that feels possible. Pango has found Kumba. His son is gone. Completely devastated, he turns back and delivers the unbearable news to the herd. The oasis falls into stunned silence. Tomi refuses to believe a single word of it. She knows Kumba is still out there. The next morning, the three travelers push on, and then Kumba spots something that makes his heart leap. 3 mountains on the horizon. Exactly the 3 mountains from the Mantis map. The exhaustion lifts immediately. They move with new energy and real purpose. Suddenly, a thundering herd of impalas comes charging at full speed directly toward them. There is a fence blocking the way and nowhere to run. Just before a disaster, the impalas stop and calmly help the 3 friends pass through the fence before continuing on their way. Back in the oasis, the situation is becoming critical. The lake has almost completely disappeared. The zebras are turning on each other over the last drops of water, but nobody dares to leave. They all believe that going outside means ending up like Kumba. After an exhausting march, the 3 travelers finally find a lake in the distance. Kumba runs straight for it and dives in without stopping. He stays under as long as he can and then drags himself onto the bank, breathless and full of hope. He looks down at himself. Nothing. Not a single new stripe. The disappointment is crushing. Before it can fully settle, a group of friendly animals appears and welcomes them warmly to the Ying Animal Sanctuary, where South Africa's most varied species live together. It sounds wonderful, but the truth underneath is ugly. This is not a natural sanctuary. It is a human-built tourist attraction where the animals are kept as exhibits. Kumba sees through it immediately and decides to keep going. Mam V and Bradley choose to stay. After everything they have survived, they have finally found somewhere safe from Pango. They are done running. But before Kumba can even properly say goodbye, the humans appear with tranquilizer darts. Bradley catches one in the side and drops instantly. Kumba runs. Vehicles roar to life and chase him. Ma'am V scoops up the unconscious Bradley and charges after her friend, who is now completely surrounded. A truck cuts Kumba off and captures him. Then a rabbit appears from nowhere and leaps onto the truck windshield, causing it to crash and flip. Kumba breaks free. The rabbit tells him that only one animal knows the true path to the magical lake, a black eagle who lives at the top of the mountain. Kumba must find him. Mom V rejoins Kumba with a groggy Bradley, and the three climb the mountain together. The rocks are steep and treacherous. Bradley nearly falls. Kumba tells his friends to wait below while he goes ahead. Bradley refuses and climbs with him. Ma'am V has no choice but to stay. Her body is too large to fit through the narrow passage. At the summit, a colony of aggressive rodents is performing some kind of ritual, and they do not welcome visitors. The moment they discover Kumba is searching for the black eagle, they grab Bradley and throw him off the cliff. He catches on a branch and survives, since his wings slow the fall just enough. Then a shadow falls over everything. The black eagle drops out of the sky, and every rodent vanishes. The eagle is massive, and his eyes miss nothing. He attacks Kumba the moment he arrives and demands to know why he has come. When Kumba explains, the eagle tells him flatly to leave. His name is Saki. He is an albino black eagle, different from every other eagle alive. He knows exactly what it feels like to be the one who does not belong. When he looks at Kumba, he sees something he recognizes deeply. So when Kumba asks one final time, Saki tells him everything. The magical lake is inside a cave on Nile Mountain. To reach it, Kumba must cross the Valley of Desolation, pass through an abandoned farm, circle a salt pan, and enter Pango's cave. Then Saki tells him the story of Pango, born blind in one eye and abandoned by his own pack as a cub. The blindness that was supposed to make him weak instead sharpened his sense of smell beyond any other predator alive. He grew up with nothing and became a perfect hunter. After destroying his own family, he turned into something darker. He now hunts purely for the pleasure of causing pain. Back at the animal sanctuary, the rabbit feels something shift inside him after meeting Kumba. He looks around at his comfortable cage and feels the pull of real freedom for the first time in years. He announces he is leaving. The other animals follow. The whole group heads toward Nile Mountain. At the oasis, SEO tells the herd plainly that if they stay, they will all die of thirst. They must move. Together, the zebras step outside the fence for the very first time. It is terrifying and uncertain and completely necessary. Kumba and his friends reach the Valley of Desolation at sunset and cross it carefully in near darkness. On the other side stands the abandoned farm, quiet and still. They move toward a fountain, desperately thirsty. Before they can drink, a sheep in a ridiculous disguise with fake wild horns comes tearing out of the farmhouse and chases them all over the property. During the chaos, Kumba gets his hoof stuck in the wooden floor and crashes down hard. He tells Mam V and Bradley to run for the mountain while he deals with the sheep. They refuse. They stay. And together the three trap the animal. In the struggle, Mam V and Bradley discover the truth Kumba has been hiding the whole time. The lake is inside Pango's cave. He knew. He kept it secret because he knew they would never have come if they knew the truth. The betrayal cuts deep. Mam V goes completely silent. Then all the grief she has kept buried comes pouring out. She remembers her baby, the little one Pango took from her long ago. Kumba cannot find any words. He is ashamed. He turns and continues toward the mountain alone. Hours later, Mam V and Bradley, heading in the opposite direction, walk straight into Pango. The leopard is terrifyingly calm. He wants Kumba. Bradley, shaking with fear, reveals that Kumba is heading for Nile Mountain. Pango disappears instantly into the darkness. Mam V looks at Bradley. They have to reach Kumba first. Kumba collapses on the salt flats after walking too long without food or water. When he opens his eyes, he sees his mother walking toward him. He blinks. It is not his mother. It is Janie, the elderly antelope he helped at the fence so long ago. She remembers his kindness, and she feeds him and walks with him to safer ground. Days later, the zebra herd spots dark, heavy clouds gathering on the horizon. A storm is coming. The relief spreads through the group like electricity. Then they run into the rabbit and all the sanctuary animals heading the same way. SEO hears that his son is alive and stops walking. Then he runs. With Janie's help, Kumba reaches Nile Mountain and approaches the cave entrance. A bolt of lightning strikes a bush directly in front of him and sets it on fire. There is no way around it, only through. Kumba closes his eyes and walks into the flames. Inside the cave, ancient drawings cover every wall. A narrow passage opens into a vast underground space. In the center, glowing softly in the darkness, is the magical lake. After everything he has crossed and lost and survived, he is standing in front of it. He walks to the edge and looks down. He thinks about every step of the journey. Every night alone in the cold desert, his mother's voice telling him the legend, the friends he hurt along the way. And standing there at the edge of the thing he crossed a desert to find, he realizes he does not want it anymore. He does not want to look like everyone else. His coat, the thing that caused him so much pain his entire life, is also the most uniquely and entirely his. He steps back from the water. Pango steps out of the darkness. The leopard reveals the prophecy. A zebra born with only half its body striped will make a leopard the most powerful creature in the desert. Pango eliminated his entire clan to make sure no other leopard could claim it. Now he has his zebra. Kumba runs. The chase through the cave is fast and violent. Pango slips on the wet rock and sends boulders crashing everywhere. He falls but gets up immediately and uses his extraordinary sense of smell to find Kumba hiding in the dark. Kumba breaks out and races for the lake. Pango launches himself through the air and both of them crash into the water together. Underwater, the cave begins shaking apart. Kumba wrestles free and claws toward the surface. Pango suddenly freezes. He has not been in this water since his own mother threw him in as a cub, and he nearly drowned. The memory locks him completely in place. Kumba breaks the surface, gasping. A second later, Pango grabs him again and drags him back down. A massive boulder crashes between them and forces them apart. The cave is collapsing. Water bursts through the cracking walls and forms a roaring waterfall tearing through the mountain. Outside, SEO arrives and tries to follow his son, but cannot fit through the narrow passage. Mam V drives her horns into the rock, trying to break it open. The herd and all the animals climbing the mountain are stopped by flames. Tomi stands at the edge, unable to move closer and unable to look away. Pango and Kumba slide out across the wet rocks on a rushing wave of water. SEO sees his son and the leopard, and everything inside him breaks. The entire herd watches in silent terror. Kumba spots a massive rock balanced at the edge of a cliff and jumps onto it. Pango leaps after him without thinking. The rock gives way completely under the leopard's weight and crushes him as it falls. Kumba throws himself into the water below. Everyone rushes to the edge. SEO gets there first and pulls his son out onto the bank. Tomi appears right beside him. The whole crowd presses in and looks at Kumba lying completely still on the ground. Nobody speaks. Nobody moves. Then the rain starts. Real rain. Falling from the sky for the first time in years, soaking into the dry, cracked earth and turning everything dark and alive. And in that exact same moment, Kumba takes a breath. His eyes open. He is alive. The celebration that follows is unlike anything the herd has ever known. Tomi throws her arms around her best friend and holds on. SEO stands over his son with a relief that has no words for it. From that day, everything changes. The rain builds a new oasis. Different species settle in together and live side by side in a peace that seemed impossible before. And Kumba, the zebra who was mocked and rejected and told he did not belong, is finally seen for exactly what he always was. Not a mistake. Not a bad sign. Something rare. After everything this group crossed together, they all walk away, understanding one thing they could not have learned any other way. Their differences were never the problem. Their differences were always the point.